Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope all is going good. Now, today's topic, extremism. We're going to be watching on GB News, Zia Yusuf of Reform UK take on Barry Gardner of the Labour Party. And they're going to be talking about extremism in the UK. And that comes after counter-extremism analyst Amjad Tahar said that the UK have more extremists than in the Middle East. You know, he understands this. He's an analyst in this field, but I'm sure Keir Starmer is there ignoring what this man is saying. You know, he wants to probably brand this man as an Islamophobe, but the man's Muslim, so he can't really do that. So they're just going to ignore that and other European countries. They're not going to understand that there's a serious threat in the West, in Europe, you know. But, you know, let's just touch up on the UK because this is about the UK. You know, there's a growing threat. You know, pay attention. That's what he's trying to tell you. There's more extremists in the UK than in the Middle East. But, you know, the UK government don't want to do anything about it. Even Zia Yusuf was talking about 39,000 out of 45,000 that are on the MI5 watch list being Islamists. It's a clear problem here. Do you want to tackle it? Do you want to touch up on it? Touch base on it? We've seen what's been going on these past couple of months. Are politicians going to actually be brave and tackle the problem, or are they just going to keep on running and allowing natives, Christians, Hindus, Jews, of, you know, that are living in Europe to just face the consequences of, you know, Islamists? What are you gonna do here? You know, so yeah, my guess is the latter. They will allow this to carry on going, and, you know, people are gonna face the consequences as a result. But anyway, guys, let's get straight into the, I guess, debate-ish, and let's see what they have to say.
I think you have more extremists in UK than you have in the Middle East.
Really?
At this stage, absolutely. The things that some of the Islamists say in various mosques, and we have been seeing that online, the terminology they use, the analysis they make, the statements they actually make, they would not be able to say it all the way in Afghanistan, for example, or in Iraq.
True.
Correct. So we're basically riddled with extremists. Zia Yusuf, what do you say to this?
Well, I think that it's clear that the vast majority of Muslims in this country just want to work hard and get on with their lives. But just like in any large population, you have a small, very small minority of people who are extremists. And because we have two-tier policing and two-tier justice in this country...
Not going to keep pausing it, just very quickly. Zia Yusuf is not a small minority. It seems like a global, you know, majority. You know, and even if it is a small minority, you don't have the other moderate Muslims coming out and condemning these acts of violence. You don't see them take to the streets to talk about what's been going on. You know, this week alone, you know, 70 people were beheaded in Congo. You know, you've seen what's happened in Germany, in Austria, in the United States, in the UK, Axel Ruda Cabana, Islamists all over the place, you know, rearing their ugly face. But these moderate Muslims don't come out and condemn them. They keep silent. So it's not just a small minority as it relates to Islam. That's just what anyway, let's go.
When people break the law by either saying or doing certain things, they're not dealt with. And the law doesn't deal with them, and the police are not dealing with them in an even-handed way. And what's really bad about that, what's particularly bad, is that even if the people doing that are doing it out of a motivation, out of some sort of benevolent motivation, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, whether we should or not. The reality is it serves the opposite effect, because then that small minority of people, their conduct then ends up characterizing and ends up smearing an entire populace. I actually totally agree with what was said on that interview, and my friends in the Middle East say that all the time.
Yeah, the problem is that when we have these extremists will say that they are enacting Islam. They will say that themselves. They will bring Islam into the conversation. They will say that they're trying to further their objectives based on their religion.
Correct. Yeah, spot on. That's it. That is exactly the problem. But again, because you have had two-tier policing in this country for such a long time, because you've had two-tier justice in this country for such a long time, the most extreme and militant aspects of that community are not being dealt with by the legal services and by the police in the same way that extreme elements of other groups are dealt with. In fact, That is so obvious now. Again, that is what is breeding so much frustration, anger, and I would argue resentment. Look, anyone who has had a group of kids that they've had to look after, or if they're a teacher, there's a surefire way to get a kid bullied in class. Do you know how you do it? You give them obvious preferential treatment relative to the other children. And again, the two-tier policing and the two-tier justice system in this country that is so prevalent and abundantly clear to everybody watching this at home needs to change.
Barry Gardner?
Zia and I are not that far apart on this, actually. I don't think it's universal, the two-tier system, but I actually do agree that there has been one. We saw this when we were dealing with the issues of child abuse. In fact, and as you know, it was one of the things that Keir Starmer, when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, tried to stamp out. He took a very active role in that, and that's what the public inquiry that was held actually said. Professor Jay said that at the public inquiry, and that was the beginning of trying to end that rot. But look, it is a minority, and what we mustn't do is we mustn't then smear the rest of the Muslim population with those charges. I don't know the numbers. The guy there seemed to me to be making a rhetorical point rather than a factual one, because I look at some of the countries that exist in the world where there is an extreme form of Islam actually in control. The reason that those people are not outlawed there is because they're actually in control. And I think we've seen the way in which madrasas are set up in various countries, in which they breed that fundamentalism. And look, fundamentalism in all its types, particularly religious fundamentalism, is a toxic thing. And it doesn't matter whether it's,
Your party, you're now currently trying to establish councils or committees or whatever you call them, to establish rules around Islamophobia. But we don't have blasphemy laws in this country, so what are you doing?
No, look, we have laws against racism and discrimination on the basis of a protected characteristic.
Yeah,
that's
those
what our
laws
equalities
exist,
are.
so why are you trying to set up a council specifically around Islamophobia then?
In exactly the same way as we have a Minister for Women and Equalities, in exactly the same way as we look at all other aspects of inequality and discrimination. And look, it's really important that we take these issues seriously, because, as Zia says, it does affect the whole of the population, the Islamic population, or the whole population of whichever religion we're talking about. It doesn't matter whether it's Jewish people and there is, racism against them, whether it's racism against...
But with respect to Michelle's point, I think that's the point that people make, which is that why would you have this specifically for Islamophobia versus Judaism or Christianity, for example?
But we do. We have exactly that for anti-Semitism as well. So it really is important that we don't just say, oh yes,
the Labour Party is talking about passing legislation very specifically, which is why people are worried about a blasphemy law by the back door.
We don't just say we abhor all racism. We have to actually be specific and say, look, we know what's happening to this community.
Why can't you just say you abhor all racism and ensure that that is enforced by law? Why that treats everybody equally?
Yeah, of course one does, but actually, if you were to do that, it wouldn't tackle the problem that we have with anti-Semitism in this country. It wouldn't tackle the problem that we have with Islamophobia in this country.
Why?
Because you have to drill down into what is causing it. You have to find out exactly where it's prevalent. You have to find out who is inciting it, and you then have to tackle that. So
look, this Barry, guys, this is the last time I'm going to pause the video. This Barry guy is clearly clueless. Who's inciting it? Just read the Quran. It will tell you, chapter 98, verse 6. People who don't believe in the book are the worst of all creation. They're the worst creatures or creation. The book. It's in the book. This is what is breeding these, militant people to be going out and carrying out these levels of violence. And again, if there's this moderate Muslim community, why don't they ever come out and say, no, we're going to march the streets the same way they march the streets for Palestine? We're going to march the streets to ensure that, Muslims are not attacking, people that are not Muslim. you know, but they never do that. You know, they just say they don't represent Islam, don't worry, they don't represent us, and then they just carry on. Then, you know, militant parts of that religion just carry on, you know, committing carnage, and Muslims just say, yeah, they don't represent us, you know, it's nothing to do with us anyway. Yeah, and it's like, but yeah, it has a lot to do with you. You know, the book clearly states that this is a war against the non-believers, you know, so don't try and, you know, pull a fast one here.
Sure, but all of that is possible with a law that protects everybody equally.
Detailed,
including, by the way, Christians and everybody else.
A detailed and forensic approach to try and eradicate it.
I'm not really sure that's going to wash with a lot of the viewers, because this is a topic that a lot of viewers get in contact with all the time. You're seeing situations where there was an incident, and it's quite hard because of contempt of court laws in this country, so I'll speak generally. You can have a situation now where you can purchase your own copy of a Quran, so it's your own property. You can set fire to it, which is something I don't condone. I don't walk around setting fire to religious texts. It's not anything I would ever do. I don't think other people should do it, because I just think it's disrespectful, and why would you want to do that? But notwithstanding my thoughts and feelings on it, some people have chosen to burn their own copies of that book and found themselves in trouble with the police. Other people have decided to respond to said book burners in quite an aggressive way and haven't been treated quite as harshly by the police. What do you think to that?
Look, let's, as you say, let's try and generalise it, so we're not talking about a specific judicial case. But in this country, there are certain things that you can do in different contexts. And if you do something in the context where it is likely to incite hatred, that then becomes an offence. So if I go into a closed room where nobody's there and I burn a religious text, there's no question that would incite religious hatred or foment public unrest in any way. But if you do that in a particular context, whether that is outside a place of worship or at a rally, then it can be seen to be inciting hatred.
So you just want to go to prison for burning their own book?
What I'm saying is, no, somebody should not go to prison for burning a book. They should go to prison for inciting religious hatred, racial hatred, or for fomenting unrest.
Religious sensitivities take precedent over people's
property rights,
free speech and property rights in your mind?
No. What I'm saying is we want a society where people are not deliberately trying to antagonize other people. And if you foment religious hatred, then that is a problem. And actually, at the moment, it's a crime.
Alright, so guys, that brings about the end of the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. You know, Zia Yusuf was, you know, he was keeping it real, saying that this is a problem, you know, just catering to Muslims. And we understand what's going on here. They're doing it for the Muslim vote. And I'd say that this Labour government are prime examples of the term Islamophobia, because they are absolutely scared of Islam. That's why they do anything, you know, to protect it. Oh my gosh, don't talk to that Muslim like that. We're gonna set up Islamophobia councils. You know, certain Christian preachers cannot come to the UK because they just want to come to the UK, go to Speaker's Corner and debate. They have been revoked access coming to the UK to debate for Christianity, you know, Christian apologetics. So we see what's going on here. Honestly, this country, you know, like Tucker Carlson, like so many people have said, Colonel Douglas McGregor, everyone has been saying it in America, you know, this country, they seem to be asleep as to what's really going on here. And I think when they wake up, they'll wake up with, you know, so much problems that they won't even know how to address it. That's me just being super, super honest. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.